So I was browsing TV the other day and I noticed there are so many streaming platforms out there which I'm subscribed to, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and I noticed another one that I didn't even know I had, which was Apple TV. One movie that stuck out to me was The Banker, and it stars Samuel L. Jackson and Anthony Mackie. What stuck out to me in that movie was one of the beginning scenes where he was a kid listening into what the rich people were doing to make money. So that leads me to this video today. My name is BRRRR. I'm an average Filipino-American kid that grew up in Washington State. I was born in New York City. I didn't know anything about money. I didn't know anything about saving or investing. Going back to that scene in The Banker where the kid was trying to figure out how the rich people were making money. That's sort of what I've done in the last few years, reading and actually going out and implementing these things that I've learned to make more money by investing, saving, and paying down high interest debt, not exclusively in that order. One of the things I want to talk about is real estate investing. In this video, I want to go over a real estate investing overview, why I personally like real estate as a wealth builder, examples of the type of real estate that you could get into, some people that you're going to work with, and things that you can start today right after this video to start building your wealth in real estate investing. When I say real estate investing, I'm talking about long-term hold real estate investing. I'm not talking about flipping, I'm not talking about wholesaling, and I'm not going to be talking about commercial real estate or real estate investment trusts. I'm talking about, again, long-term hold investments where you buy a property, put equity into it by renovating the property, putting in a tenant, and hopefully renting it out for long term. I do want to also point out this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not an MLM or a multi-level marketing campaign. This is strictly a long-term investment that I want to share with you that I'm on the road to build my wealth and give you the tools that you can start today to build your wealth as well. So why do I like real estate? Real estate actually in its title has 50% of the answer. It is real. When you're purchasing land and land that you accumulate over time, it builds value. It is one investment vehicle for building your wealth. Unlike anything else, it cannot be reproduced. Once there's no more land to build on top of or own, there's no more land to be built on top of or own. Also, purchasing real estate is different than purchasing a stock or any other consumer good. So the phrase that I like to call it is leveraging other people's money. Other people's money in our case would be the bank. Unlike real estate, stocks you actually have to buy outright with your own money, 100% the price of the stock. Real estate, you don't always have to pay the 100% price of the home that you're buying. Another reason why I like real estate is because it's fairly stable and predictable. You're probably thinking,
oh, but what about 2008?
The thing is, if you approach real estate investing in a calculated manner, you can have an investment that grows your wealth in a safe, predictable, and successful manner in the long term if you do it correctly. The next thing I want to mention about real estate investing that's important to mention is the ability to buy under market value. You have the purchase price of a house listed at, say, $100,000. And you're probably thinking, you're never going to find that in California. You're right. I've never found that in California. So let's say we have a house that's listed at $100,000. You can actually offer under $100,000 on the purchase price, say $80,000, and then 20% on that being $16,000 as a down payment. Compared to other assets, you can't do that. Like for the stock market, you have to buy a stock at its stock price whenever that given transaction happens. In real estate, you can have a transaction going and you can say in contract that you agree to buy it for 100K, but say something comes up in escrow during an inspection that gives you the ability to renegotiate the purchase price or ask for credits and repairs. There's a lot of leeway and wiggle room and buffer for that to happen. So the last thing I want to mention about why I like real estate investing and why I'm trying to pursue it are these 4 wealth building generators: appreciation, cash flow, tax write-offs, and loan paydown. So with appreciation, when you're buying an asset, that typically appreciates in value over the long term. Now, value and housing prices can go up, they can go down. We know what happened in 2008. We know what happened in the mid-century. We also know what's happening now. House prices are going way past what they were at the peak in 2008. On average, I've seen in the market that housing prices go up at a rate of 2 to 3%, just beating inflation. The next thing in the list was cash flow. So cash flow is essentially your rent minus your operating expenses. Operating expenses could be your mortgage, property taxes, insurance, any fees such as an HOA fee. If you don't have that, you don't have to consider that. There's also capital expenditures. Capital expenditures being any calculations for vacancies or repairs that you're considering in the future. So let's just say you're renting out a home for $1,000 a month, and then every month your expenses turn out to be $800 a month. The cash flow on that property would be $200 a month. Over a year, it would be $2,400. The next thing is tax write-offs. So another wealth generator in real estate investing is tax write-offs. So I know you're probably familiar, every April 15th, you have to submit your tax return, and then you either get back money or you have to owe money to the IRS. In real estate investing, you actually have the benefit of writing off taxes. That's because a real estate investment is essentially a business. You get the benefit of writing off taxes on your income, or you can have tax write-offs on depreciation as well of your asset. And the last wealth generator I mentioned was loan paydown. In real estate, like I mentioned, you can leverage money to purchase an asset such as a home to rent out. When you own a rental property, you put a down payment of 20 to 25%. Typically, when you have a rental property, you can pay it out outright in cash, or you can leverage other people's money with a mortgage from the bank. When you have a mortgage from the bank, you have a loan, and then with loan paydown, since a tenant is renting out your rental property, they're essentially paying down your rent, because when you have a mortgage, you have this amortization calendar where you pay off the loan in 15 to 30 years. 30 years is probably the better term because the payments are lower. Over time, you're paying a lot, but since the renter or the tenant is covering that payment for you, as well as any other expenses you have by owning that property and managing it, you have the benefit of paying down that loan and gaining more equity in your property. So a couple examples that I can mention in real estate investing are owning single family homes where you rent out the home to a family or you rent out each room. You also can do house hacking where you live in one room or in one unit in the property if it's a multi-unit, and then you have the other unit where other rooms cover your mortgage or a good portion of it. Another thing is rent hacking or apartment hacking, where if you are on the lease and you're able to sublease any of the other rooms to offset the rental cost on you so you could save more money. Also, if you do a house hack situation, you don't have to put 20 to 25% down. You can actually get loans, I believe, as low as 3.5% down in terms of an FHA loan if you're living in the property and renting out the rooms or other units to tenants. I personally like single family homes because of the ability to rent out the home to a family where a family is moving to the area for the schools or the area, and then they're considering that area to stay long term. Another strategy in real estate investing that I've seen that is really cool is actually called the BRRRR method. Now, the BRRRR method is an acronym for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. Essentially, each of these steps are building equity into the property, but the most important step is the first one where you buy a good deal on the market. So earlier I mentioned buying assets under market value. Let's take a property that costs 100K, but then you give an offer under market value at 80K. Essentially, when you make that purchase or when you close on that purchase, you now own a property without renovations that is worth 100K, but were given an instant equity of $20,000. The next step in the BRRRR method is renovating the property. So if you have a property that's under market value, it's most likely run down or needs some renovations and rehab, you can force equity into the property where you redo the kitchen or you redo the bathrooms or you add forced value and equity into the property. Let's say you invest 10K or even 20K into that property, all in 16K, the 20% down on an 80K offer, then plus 10K, now you're all in on the property $26,000. So the next step in the BRRRR method is actually renting out the property. So after it's bought, after it's renovated, you can place a tenant in the property. You should screen tenants. Obviously, there's a whole explanation beyond that, but that would be the next step. After that, once you have a renter in the property and you have a lease agreement signed, you can go and refinance that property to potentially pull out all the equity that you put in. Originally, you put down $16,000, which is a 20% investment on the $80,000 offer you made on the property. That means that you had a mortgage or an original loan of $64,000. After you renovated the property and you placed a tenant in the property, the refinance group at the bank is going to send out an appraiser, and the appraiser appraises your property for $120,000. So you can refinance a property up to 80% of the value that it's appraised for. So in the case of it being worth $120,000, you can get a new loan that's valued up to $96,000. So now you have a new loan that's worth $96,000 and an old loan that's worth $64,000. The difference between that is $32,000. What happens to that? That's essentially a cash out refinance where you get back the money that you put into the property. Remember, you put a down payment of $16,000 and then you renovated the property for $10,000. That together is $26,000. And then now you have this cash back that is $32,000. You still have the 20% equity in the property, but now you have $32,000 in cash to go and do another investment. That is the last R, and that is repeat. So what are the types of rentals that you can invest in? So I already mentioned single family homes. There's also multi-family real estate or multi-units such as duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. I believe quadplexes is the max to get one of those loans that I mentioned earlier, an FHA loan where you don't have to put down 20%, but you could put as low as 3.5%. You can also invest in condos as well as townhomes. If we were to move out, we most likely wouldn't sell it, only if it made sense, but we would try to rent it out. You can also look into real estate owned properties or foreclosures. Those are synonymous, which are essentially owned by the banks. You can also look for those fixer-uppers that I mentioned for the BRRRR method. You can also consider house flipping, but remember, this is not what this video is about. And then lastly, there's also commercial real estate or REITs, which I also mentioned. My hope is that I haven't lost you already, but again, if you're watching alone, you don't have to do real estate investing alone. You can learn all the stuff that you took in this video and build a team to do it. And here are some of the team members that you should have involved in your real estate investing journey. The first one being a spouse or a friend, because you should never go at it alone in real estate investing. If you do, that is just more responsibility on you. Both my fiance and I are on the mortgage of this house, so we're splitting the mortgage essentially. She put down more money and I'm paying more in terms of utilities in the long term. I'm more likely going to put more money down into our property to pay down our mortgage to gain more equity as well in the near future. Another person you can consider is a mentor, so someone who has done it before. Someone that I look up to as a mentor is Graham Stephan because he's a real estate investor. I also have our agents that I've talked to from time to time who are also investors. There are many investors out there that you may not know of, but you should definitely seek out one if you're interested in real estate investing. Seek out a mentor that does it themselves. You definitely need a real estate agent to purchase these properties. You can go out and do it yourself, but remember, real estate agents are certified in having their real estate licenses, so they know the ins and outs of going into a deal, looking for the best interest for you, as well as get you to close that deal. They also gain a commission on that deal, so helping them is also helping you. You should also consider talking to lenders. Now, when you get a property and you're not able to buy it outright, you're most likely going to be getting a mortgage from a lender. Lenders should definitely be a part of your team because if you are going to be doing multiple investments or you're doing that one investment, you're definitely going to want to talk to a good lender. If you do take the route of doing the BRRRR method or house flipping or anything like that where you need to do remodels to a rental property, get in touch with some good contractors. What I've seen is you can have good contractors either word of mouth or you can look at places like Yelp. As simple as that. But if you want a huge project, definitely consider doing your research. Get some quotes on multiple contractors, just like you could get multiple quotes on lenders as well. Next up on the list is a bookkeeper. So a bookkeeper is not going to be the same as a CPA. CPA is more for tax reasons, business reasons, if you grow your portfolio. But in terms of a bookkeeper, someone to do your taxes during tax season, if that's not something that you want to do yourself, you can look into those two things, a bookkeeper and a CPA to do your taxes, just because of the things I mentioned about earlier, where real estate investing has the benefit of tax write-offs. It's not anything like a simple just submitting your W-2. You'll be considering all your itemized deductions as well as all those things that you're doing when you're investing in real estate, like doing real estate purchases, repairs. They are business expenses, so they have the ability to be written off on your taxes. These last few are team members that I don't currently have, but they're definitely ones you consider. One of them being as a lawyer. When investing in real estate, it's not just like buying a stock. You're not only investing in an asset, but you're investing in the people that you work with. When you have a tenant, it's a good thing to take care of them, but if anything happens and liability comes arise, you should have a good lawyer to help you through the contracts, help you through any situations that might turn bad, but also being preemptive is really good too, like writing up a good lease agreement. A lawyer is someone who can write that up, draft it up, as well as overview what you already have, especially if they specialize in real estate. An insurance agent is someone to get in touch with because when you have a home, you also have to have homeowners insurance. When you have a rental property, it's the same thing. You need insurance on the property. There are a bunch of situations to consider when you have multiple properties, but definitely when you're starting out, you should have a good insurance agent to get you a good policy that can help keep your assets safe as well as keep your expenses at a good rate. And last, if you're considering getting multiple properties or you don't want to manage those properties yourself per se, you can get a property manager as well. Keep in mind, a lot of property managers charge a fee, sometimes 10%, sometimes more to manage your property. A property manager takes care of the monthly payments to make sure you're paid on time. They take care of any requests to do repairs, any inquiries from the tenant. So there's that barrier between you and your tenant. So I think the first thing you can do starting today, if you haven't already done so, is smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Kidding aside, the first thing that you should do is start building your credit if you haven't already done so. The one thing that I wish I started earlier is building my credit. That could be as simple as opening a credit card when you become eligible at the age of 18. Lenders look at your credit whenever they're checking you to lend you out money, because that depends on how much your rate is going to be and how much money you're going to be able to afford to pay back. You might also be thinking, well, what if you do have the cash to purchase property? Honestly, that's great, but it would be actually better for you to get a lender to give you money at a low rate, because your money that you do have could be either used for other investments to leverage even more, or invest in a rate that's great, that has a rate of return greater than the rate of the loan that you could potentially get. Not having good credit can have a dramatic effect on your ability to invest in real estate and cost you a lot more money in the long term. Because if you have higher rates and you're not able to afford more, you're most likely going to be paying more money or not earning enough money compared to if you had a good credit score. The second step I would say to get started in investing in real estate is saving your money. So you actually do need money to invest in real estate. That's not to say like,
No Sherlock.
you have to have money, but yes, you have to save money, because there's no such thing as no money down. There's no such thing as no credit or seller financing. Like, those are very unicorn situations if you look those terms up. But anytime that those do come up, it's almost too good to be true. So saving your money and then deciding to invest that in something instead of buying a new car or the new Lambo or the newest video game like I have done in the past, you definitely have to save your money. Typically, when you invest in real estate, down payments can go anywhere, like I said, from 3.5% all the way up to 25%. Typically for a rental property, if you already have a primary home, can be 20 to 25% down. If you're in areas like me where SoCal is super expensive, down payments can be anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 just for a rental property. Most of you listening to this video could be still in school, can have a 9-to-5 job, and simply just that. Is that enough? It could be if you're making, a good amount of money and you're able to save it. But sometimes to be able to save more money, you have to increase the amount of money that you can make. So that could include getting a part-time job, making YouTube videos, smashing the like button. But really, if you're trying to make more money, making more money either by getting a raise or working more jobs is the way to do it. If you don't have kids yet, or if you're able to free up that time to do so instead of wasting it, making more money can help you save more money. My philosophy that I've always talked about on this channel is paying off your high interest debt. Any debt that you have that has a rate that incurs 5% or more should definitely be paid off as soon as possible. Next to that is having an emergency fund anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly expenses. If you can keep your monthly expenses low, that 3 to 6 months can be a lot lower. So in terms of making more money, you can also save more money to make you more money as well. The third thing that you need to consider when investing in real estate is being able to prove your income. So just like I mentioned in terms of making more money or saving money, you have to be able to prove that you're making money. The first step that I've mentioned in the past when buying a home is getting pre-approved. If you watched the Millennial Mortgage video that was featuring my fiance and I, the first step that I said was getting pre-approved. Lenders typically look at the last 1 to 2 years in tax returns to be able to tell you how much money they're willing to lend to you. They will also need a proof of funds where you have the down payment housed, whether it's in your checking account, your savings account, your high yield savings account, any investment accounts, which also include your Roth IRAs, or even 401ks, because you have the ability to pay that mortgage off or be able to afford the monthly payments if anything happens. Getting that pre-qualification shows you the types of properties and the prices that you can afford. Talk to the lenders first. They have to run your credit, hence the step 1 of building your credit, and then they look at your statements. You can then take this pre-approval letter and take it to other lenders that you can potentially get a better rate at or a better offer at to be able to buy your rental property or your home. The goal of that is to get the best interest rate. Like, say Bank 1 is offering a rate of 3%, and Bank 2 is offering a rate of 3.25%, but the second bank has credits or any other incentives to have you get there. You can take that first pre-approval and say, hey, this bank is offering me this much, and you go back and forth until you get the lowest rate. The reason for this is to give you options. You might be thinking going back and forth between lenders and a credit check is needed is going to ding your credit score. It actually doesn't if you're done within 30 days. it basically only counts as one hard hit on your credit check. Sorry guys, this is a really long video, so I had to restart the camera. So the fourth step is actually doing your research. So you want to look what's on the market, see what's good, what is within your price range since you just got pre-approved. Think quality in the areas that you're looking for, like school or education, because if you want to rent out to a long-term tenant, maybe they have kids that are going to go schools to that area, they want to go to areas that have good schools. You also want to maybe invest in areas that are just outside of areas that rose in prices. So for example, when I moved out to LA, Santa Monica where I work, the real estate prices were ridiculously high. Right next to that, you had areas like Culver City or the West Side that weren't as expensive, but then not even 6 months or a year later, they already blew up. There was also the Expo line, which is a train that goes straight from downtown to Santa Monica. Any real estate that was along that line, and that was fairly new when I moved out here, just blew up in price. So look in areas that are next to those areas that blew up in price because that's where the appreciation will spread to. You can also check out open houses where you network with real estate agents that are presenting a home, but they also might have other houses on the market that they're listing for that could be potentially investing opportunities for you too. You definitely want to look for those homes that need a little bit of cosmetic work or a little bit of work, because typically a home that needs a little bit more work is priced less than those homes that are already set up nice for you. Step 5 is actually to go and make those offers. So you found the property, you want to make an offer on it, that's the next step. Have patience when you're finding these deals and definitely hold on to making offers until you find a good deal. Don't just make any offer just out of the blue without making the calculations or the analysis on that property. You definitely shouldn't be emotional when in a bidding war for a property. Like say there's another investor that's asking for a higher price. Only offer how much it makes sense for you as an investor to make, but you also should not lose out on a good deal. Remember, we're thinking long term, so even if you do have to spend a little bit more money to get that deal, to win over that bid, think long term. Just because you're spending more money up front, in the long term, it's probably going to be worth it for you in the long term too. Now let's say you're finally in escrow or you got that deal. The next thing that you want to do in step 6 of this video is to do your inspections. When you're doing an inspection, use this time to bring contractors in and see what is wrong with the property. This can be potentially used as a tool to ask credits from the seller to fix up things before you close an escrow, or ask for a less price on the property, say if a property is appraised for less than. It gives you a negotiating power. You can also use that time when you do bring in those contractors as bringing multiple types of contractors to come in to quote the property, like how much will it cost to renovate this kitchen, or how much will it cost to renovate this whole house? Maybe you want to add a room to bring value to the home, anything like that. Usually contractors give a free consultation, and then you can take those bids and offer estimates to compete with other contractors to get the best value to you. With all this information, it gives you even more negotiating power in the escrow process when you're closing on a property. So you closed on the deal and you've reached step 8 of the process, and that is starting your actual renovation. You have a mortgage, you have a set amount of time until the first payment of that mortgage happens. You want to get a tenant in there as soon as possible, but you also have to get it rental ready. You are, one, buying an undervalued home, so it appraised for more than what you bought it at, so that there's instant equity there. You're adding equity in the remodel, like I just mentioned, and you can charge more rental income given that it's a nicer property and it's in an upcoming area. And then once you get that bid, consider adding an extra 15 to 20%, because even though they gave you a bid, they could have more costs like cost of materials or more time or more work to be able to complete your project. Just for the sake of this video or the sake of your investment, just add an extra 15 to 20% on their bid, just so you're not surprised if something happens later down the line. And the last step in real estate investing that I should mention is actually finding a tenant. You can find tenants really anywhere. You can post a sign outside. Obviously, with the digital age, you can post your listing on really anywhere. Like you can post on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. I've even heard people posting on Craigslist, and I think that was probably way before any of these automated sites happened. You can post your listing on Craigslist, you get called up, you have a leasing agreement signed, and then bam, you have a tenant in there. You can also work with an agent. You can have a listing agent on your property who knows their network, and then they can say, hey, I have a rental property on the listing. Do you have a tenant that's looking for one? And then you have a leasing tenant agent say, hey, here's this one, and then they get a cut on the contract. And then once the tenant's in there, you're honestly on the way to real estate investing. You've completed your first rental. So what now? Essentially, you're at the point of managing a business. When you consider a rental property or you're a landlord, you are essentially a business owner because managing your property is a business. Like I said, you have team members like your agent, your property manager, your contractors. You're managing a business. You as a landlord have a responsibility to make sure you're giving someone a place to live. so then they can continue to bring you business and paying your rent. Just because you hear stories of scum lords or anything like that, those aren't the good business owners. You, however, have the ability to be a good landlord, invest in your business, invest in the people that you work with, and invest in yourself. That's the whole point of this video and investing in real estate. Obviously, there's so much more information that I didn't pack into this video about real estate investing, but the most important thing is that long term, the results are unlimited. And it takes a lot of learning along the way, even for people who are seasoned real estate investors. Me, I'm just beginning, so the knowledge is just beginning. These are just the foundations that I've built my knowledge upon and that I continue to grow on. I didn't even go into the tax benefits that you get from investing in real estate. I have only mentioned it. I also didn't mention analyzing properties or managing your property. I haven't even talked about the potential of managing real estate properties out of state, which I kind of do because my mom owns a property in Washington State and I live in California. So investing in real estate doesn't only have to be in your area like you may thought of. The reason for that is because everything is online. You can find deals and listings anywhere around the world, anywhere in the US, anywhere that you're at, just from the touch of your finger. A couple books I'd like to recommend if you continue to educate yourself on real estate investing is definitely the book on rental property investing that I have here. Another book is the BRRRR book, or the Buy, Renovate, Rent, Refinance, Repeat book by David Green, who's also a co-host on the Bigger Pockets podcast. You can also find information on YouTube, which is where I found all my information. You can find information on my channel as I post more content about real estate investing. My number one pick for real estate investing is obviously Graham Stephan. He owns 6 to 7 properties out here in the Southern California region, all throughout LA, where he's a rental property investor, and he has so many videos in terms of real estate investing. You can also check out Bigger Pockets, their own podcast. Like I mentioned, the two authors, they have a whole podcast where they post almost every week on Spotify, iTunes. You should also check out Millennial Mortgage. CNBC Make It has featured so many millennials, my age, younger, older, who have been in the business of being real estate investors. That is also a resource that you can find just really anything on YouTube. If you type in real estate investing, you'll find a plethora of rich content. With that said, everyone, thanks so much for coming to the channel. I really appreciate it. Watching this video, I understand it was a long one. I put a lot of research into these foundational concepts that I wanted to talk about in terms of real estate investing. It's definitely the stuff that I'm working on and we're working on here. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also consider ringing the notification bell so you know the next time that I post on this channel. I'm almost to my goal of 1,000 subscribers. I'm so close. If you can, please hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. It helps my channel grow, and it also keeps the content coming each and every week. I'm not only going to talk about real estate investing, I'm not only going to talk about personal finance. I've also posted videos on video games, which I really like myself. It's a bad habit, and I mentioned in a previous video, but that's another video you could check out. You can find me on Instagram. I post there from time to time. I also post clips of my video game content there. Also, I know real estate investing is pretty involved. You have to work with people. If you're not into that, or if you want to start off smaller, you can start investing in stocks. I have 2 links down in the description below. You can check them out there. I believe one of them is to Webull, where if you deposit $100, you could get 2 stocks. One of those stocks valued up to $1,400. There's a second link in the description to Robinhood, where if you just open an account, you can get another free stock there for a total of 3 stocks. With that said, and all the knowledge that you've learned in this video, you know the drill. Let's get to work.